What's up, everybody? Welcome to Inside the Game, your coolest source for everything in video games. Now, you want to be a part of the show? Then head to InsideTheGame.ca, where there you can submit your clip and end off our show. Now, did you know we're also on twitch.tv/theofficialitg every Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, and also with our podcast on Friday afternoons. Now, we got a jam-packed episode, everything from virtual battle rounds, the Predator making his own appearance in this week's episode, so let's get started with the Inside Scoop.
Alright, all you Modern Warfare fans, let me tell you, I know the last update was a big one and everybody was really confused at what was going on. We were downloading an update that made the game bigger, yet the size was smaller, but it was a huge download that everybody was really upset with. Well, guess what? The new Call of Duty update's here, and it's gonna bring the install size of the game almost up to 200 gigs. But don't be too scared. They've kind of had a workaround this time to make things a little bit easier for all of us when we go to install this one. Let's check out the details on it. A new Call of Duty Modern Warfare patch is out now, but the process of updating your game on console this week is going to be slightly different than usual. Developer Infinity Ward has split the update across two separate downloads to try to take off some of the burden of downloading one big patch like they did last time. So the first part's going to download as normal on your console of choice, either auto-updating or kicking in as soon as you try to launch the game, as soon as the patch is released. And from there, you're going to need to launch the game and access any mode outside of Warzone, so campaign, multiplayer, or Spec Ops. And when you hover over any of those game choices, it's going to display a message asking you to please install multiplayer. Selecting that takes you to another screen that lists various components of Modern Warfare, and selecting Data Pack 1 will direct you to the additional download. On Xbox One, the initial update was 12 gigabytes, while Data Pack 1 was 18 gigabytes. That should give you enough time to check out the patch notes. When both downloads are completed, you'll have to restart Modern Warfare for them to apply. So if you're just accessing the free-to-play Battle Royale Modern Warfare Warzone, you can just jump in. But if you want to access any of the other features, the campaign, multiplayer, or Spec Ops, you're definitely going to have to restart the game for the update to apply. When both downloads are completed, you'll have to restart Modern Warfare for them to apply. If you're just playing the free-to-play Battle Royale mode Warzone, you won't have to start the second download, as it only applies to the paid content part of the base Modern Warfare package.
We had some unfortunate news this week with The Last of Us Part 2 story being leaked. I'm not sure why anybody would want to do this, but it's out there, so if you see anything about The Last of Us Part 2, be careful, you might get spoiled. It kind of hurts everybody, to be honest. Fans of the game, as well as the developers Naughty Dog themselves. After working on a title like this for so long, so many years, why spoil it for everybody? Kind of ruins everything. However, we did get release dates and some more exciting news ahead of us. We found out that The Last of Us Part 2 is going to be released on June 19th, and less than a month later, Ghost of Tsushima is going to be released on July 17th. So, we've got some PlayStation 4 titles to play this summer.
We just watched Google Stadia's Connect video, where they lay out some of the games and some of the moves they're bringing Stadia in the future. Now, if you want to check the full version of that, we have our full version of our react down on the YouTube channel. I want to recap just a couple highlights from that video though. One of the major things is EA is bringing up to 10 titles in the near future to the Stadia platform. This is going to include Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and Madden, and some of the other sports titles that you're familiar with. Other news included that PUBG is now available, surprise, right now on the Stadia platform and free to Pro users. Stadia Pro is free for about 2 months now if you sign up, so check it out now that PUBG is available to play with your friends cross-platform, even though they're on a console and you're on a Stadia. This is definitely welcome news, as we want to see more cross-save, cross-plat. Any of that is always great. We want to see it come to the Stadia and make all that gaming that much more fluid.
Are you guys excited about the next generation of gaming? Because Phil Spencer says he is, and here's why. He claims that the shift in gaming is going to be almost the same from that of the 2D era to the 3D era. Now that's a pretty bold statement, but Phil Spencer claims that the ray tracing technology and the dynamic latency input, the DLI, tech alone are massive improvements to the generation, giving you the fastest response times ever from your controllers. So, is this making it the whole next generation skip worth it? I think so, because everything else about this console sounds amazing.
Alright, Dying Light fans, I know you're probably hoping that I'm going to sit here and tell you about Dying Light 2, because I know it's been about 2 years since we first heard about it. Well, guess what? I don't have any good news about that quite yet, but we got some news about Dying Light. We're getting a new DLC. Let me tell you, Techland's mixing it up a little bit. They're going with a previously unreleased game and an unreleased character, Hellraid. Let's check it out. This new paid DLC expansion for Dying Light will expand the game with a dungeon map with new enemies and a variety of new weapons. Hellraid started life back in 2013 as a hack-and-slash title. The game featured a single-player narrative allowing players to battle the demons of hell by their lonesome or through co-op. The game was originally slated for a 2013 release before being pushed into 2014, and development was put on hold in 2015. So that prompted Techland to be like, well, you know what? Let's put it into one of our more successful games, into Dying Light, and this is bringing the Hellraid DLC this summer to PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One.
Well, it looks like those rumors of Assassin's Creed being set in the Viking time period are actually true. The team that brought us Assassin's Creed Black Flag and Origins is back with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. We'll be playing the role of Eivor, a Viking raider known for its dark times in the dark ages of England, who's going to be bringing a whole new story and a whole lot more game mechanics that I am excited for. In the latest iteration, players can take advantage of new features including raids, growing their settlement, building their power, and expanding their influence. We can't wait for players to experience the incredible Viking journey ahead of them, said Ashraf Ismail, creative director of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Being in Eivor's boots as both a Viking raider and a clan leader, players will face the conflicts of establishing a new home in the midst of a power struggle for control of England. It appears we're going to get the option to choose the female or a male protagonist this time around, picking up where Assassin's Creed Odyssey left off. It will be able to customize tattoos, hairstyles, all kinds of stuff, our settlements. This is exciting things coming for Assassin's Creed. I'm pumped. Hit us up at InsideTheGame.ca and let us know what you think of Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Finally caught wind of the PlayStation Plus games for the month of May, and it's looking pretty sweet. This month is the month of simulators. Starting things off, we have Cities and Skylines, the massive city builder where you really feel like you are under control of everything. Tons of depth in all of the things you do, like taxing your community, forming roads, or even monitoring public transportation and services. That's just scratching the surface of what you can do, so if you haven't tried this game, now is 100% the time. Next up this month, grab your pitchfork and horsey in the Farming Simulator 2019. Just kidding with you. Well, only partially kidding, because we are getting the latest edition of the Farming Sim series, but in this game you harvest crops, raise livestock, and drive the big old tractor around. Alright, Drew, if it bleeds, we can kill it.
Nate, you and I got to jump in Predator Hunting Grounds. First of all, thanks to PlayStation for sending us this code. Just to preface this, however, never affects our true opinion of the game. Nate, You and I jumped into the beta when it first launched. We got a good feel of how it was going to be, but now that the game is actually here and in the full release, what do you think about Predator Hunting Grounds?
Okay, buddy, so I'm a long-time fan of Predator and all the movies, and every time that they've ever created a game with this creature, I always have to try it. So moving into this one, dude, I loved it, man. This is an awesome experience. Not a perfect experience,
Nope.
but a really fun time. Illphonics, the creators of this game, the game that they made before this that they're most known for is Friday the 13th, and they did a really good job. Again, that game lacked a little bit of polish, but
Yeah.
it was the gameplay and the essence that really kind of pushed that one forward. And with Predator, the gameplay and everything is also really good, and at the same time, not so good, man.
Well, exactly, yeah. When it comes to horror games and horror movies, I'm not the biggest one on ITG crew to be covering that stuff, but to jump into Predator, we're a little bit different here. I've got that Evolve feel, so I never jumped into Jason or the Friday the 13th experience, but I jumped into Evolve, where it was 5 hunters versus 1 monster, and it's kind of the same thing here, where you're 4 soldiers hunting down, essentially, objectives, but you're also, in the wake of all that, dealing with the Predator. He's kind of this nuisance that you can either take out or evade long enough that you can jump on the helicopter to bail out after capturing enough of your objectives throughout the gameplay. Now, I thought they were honestly actually balanced really well. I didn't find my round was too short, which sometimes they were short if you were actually to take out the Predator quick enough, unless you're the Predator
Or
and
you
you're
took out us.
Exactly. Sometimes it goes the other way, because lately we've been jumping in on stream, going in and playing as the soldiers only, but you can jump in as the Predators, and we'll get to how that works in a second. But when you're out there with your friends, and if you have 5 friends, now you can do a private lobby where you're able to battle with all 5 of you. Man, like, there's just so many unique opportunities and experiences with a game like this that you and I have been having a blast at this and powering through, where you climbed, dude, to a level that I wasn't expecting you to go to and make it to so fast.
Yeah, man. So within about a day or so, I ranked up almost 50 levels. I haven't done that in a game in a long time. Call of Duty, any of these kind of multiplayer style games, that requires time, and I put it into that game the other day because I wanted to. The game was so fun, man. You also have a level up system with this game.
Yeah.
So as you progress, you unlock new classes, new weapons. And if you use those weapons, you get to unlock more attachments, so making them more powerful. But
essentially,
while you're leveling up, you're also giving this in-game currency, and with this in-game currency, you can buy cosmetics. And the cosmetics in this game, dude, let's go to this, because they don't charge you a penny for anything, man. There's no way, shape, or form where you can spend money to try and buy any of their cosmetic stuff, which is unusual in a game like this.
Absolutely. There's no store outside of the game itself. You are earning the currency within the game, and then with that currency, you were spending it on cosmetics.
Good job, soldiers. This specimen is in excellent condition. A substantial bonus is being wired to your account.
Now let's get into some of the bugs, because there's a lot of technical issues and lack of polish in the game. The best part is the gunplay. It feels absolutely solid, but if you take a look at my main screen, my main loading screen, I have half the time Predator is supposed to be on screen holding my character. My character looks and is right on screen, it looks fine, but Predator is not actually there. Predator is this gray box silhouette of a figure, but there's nothing there. And a lot of this stuff kind of translates and goes on within the game itself. There's a lot of bugginess where you'll get AIs just kind of pop right in front of you. You'll get AIs running into
you'll be right
buildings.
beside them.
Oh man,
they're not doing anything.
No, there's a lot of
like,
glitches and jankiness within the game, and you get a lot of that Friday the 13th feel still kind of making its way over into Predator, unfortunately. But the game is fun, and it's the experiences that you get within the game, because every round is going to be different.
I put rounds in it.
Now, Nate, you and I mostly played as the soldiers, but once in a while we actually jumped in as the Predator. How does the Predator feel?
Well, man, the Predator, it's a tough one. I think what they did is a spectacular job. There is a massive learning curve, I believe, to using the Predator.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I mostly found myself using the Marine. I like playing as a team and that sort of thing. But as a Predator, the way they've built the maps, man, you can traverse through the trees, and even the way it looks when you're a Marine and you see an invisible Predator, kind of a half-cloaked invisible Predator scouring through, it looks spot on from what the movies used to do. So that's cool. But the Predator gameplay, man, it is a little jank. It's a third-person perspective, so it's different.
Yep.
You have that advantage, which you need because, you know.
Yeah. There's a heavy focus on the parkour element of the Predator and in the trees, and sometimes just to get onto the tree doesn't necessarily connect either, and that's one of those quality of life issues we're experiencing right now with the launch of the game. It's a bit of a struggle for some of this stuff to connect and feel right and smooth and proper at the same time, where you're kind of bouncing around thinking you should land somewhere or connect with the bottom of the tree that allows Predator to climb up the tree, and it just doesn't happen. So
yeah,
you know, it just takes away, because it could be so smooth. When I come from an Assassin's Creed background, where back in the old days, like I'm talking about Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and when the multiplayer launched, you could traverse the entire rooftop of Rome and not hit the ground once, and I could circle and I could loop this thing all day long. But when you're on playing Predator, I feel getting from treetop to branch is a little cumbersome sometimes, and you're not sticking where you want to go. And that, you know, I know it's pretty open, but honestly, if you can get past that part and kind of learn the mechanics of it, I think it's a little bit deeper. And then there's other strategy too, because the more you unlock, the other abilities come in and the perks and all this other stuff. Man, it just elevates some of the Predator gameplay to another level. And then you get guys people that are out there that are at that stage and they've played a lot of the Predator, and you could feel that they know the Predator and how well it works.
Oh man,
and
when you're just getting picked off one at a time.
Yeah.
And then the cool thing is too, we failed to mention this, is that as a Marine, if you die, you're allowed once throughout the mission to call for reinforcements. So whether one of your friends die or all of them die, or sorry, the other two die, you can call for reinforcements once to bring them back.
Which is cool.
It is cool, because sometimes you do. I've died within the first few minutes of a game, and sometimes, you know, for these 15 potential minute games, you know, that could kind of suck. But it seems like the people want to bring you back, because working as a team is the key to victory.
5 team members down. Stick to the mission.
Well, Nate, I think Predator Hunting Grounds is a good game, but it's not perfect and needs a lot of polish still. What do you score in this one?
Well, man, unfortunately, the jankiness with the AI and some of the kind of quality of life issues in the game kind of took me out. But all in all, man, it is so fun. You could tell that the creators of this game really know the Predator and understand all the lore behind him. So, dude, this game is getting a 7. This is a must grab. If you're into PvP, pick this one up.
This one is definitely cool. It's unique, and every time that we play, we're always in for something new and exciting. You never quite know, because it's never the same gameplay throughout. The mechanics are there and the objectives are there, and those vary from time to time as well, but you never know what's going to happen throughout the match. That either the Predator's going to take you out, you're going to escape, you're going to take out the Predator. There's always something else and exciting to keep you coming back. I'm there with the 7 as well.
Playing as a Marine, traversing the jungle while completing objectives and trying to fight off the Predator is fun and makes communicating and building your team's perks important. Playing as the Predator is tough, but once mastered, you really become the ultimate hunter. The game needs some polish for sure, but Ilphonic really knows how to make old movies into amazing games.
Stick to the mission. We're moving out.
Due to the coronavirus, a few of us have a little too much time on our hands. Here's 4 titles that we recommend in no particular order to help you pass the time.
Number 1.
Easily one of the most visually beautiful worlds to reach this generation, Red Dead Redemption 2 will have you gazing at the vistas of the Old West for hours. After a robbery gone wrong, Arthur Morgan and Duchess Vanderlyn gang will have you lost in a rich and intriguing story that will last for days. If that isn't enough for you, posse up with friends and take on the old western landscape by storm with PvP or PvE game modes that extend the gameplay past the 400 plus hours that you can play just within the story itself.
Number 2.
The Division 2. Why pick a post-apocalyptic game set in a time where there's a massive viral outbreak that wiped out all law and order? In a time where you, a Division agent, have to fight back against those who would try and create their own corrupt, evil hierarchy? Or to fight those who believe it is their duty to cleanse the world of all those who are infected? Because it is your duty to join the Division, to rescue the President and retake DC. It is your duty to travel back to New York and take down the betrayer, Aaron Keener, and kill all of his pets. It is your duty to fight for your country and regain freedom. Now, as much as this game, in a crazy sense, relates to the real world, it is also a spot-on game as far as any looter shooter goes. A very in-depth and rewarding progression system, tons of weapons, armor, cosmetics, skills, mods, abilities, and more to choose from for making your experience and character build unique in comparison to anybody else. Lots of activities, both PvP and PvE, with a very friendly community that is always wanting to help out. And right now, the best part about this game is you can try it for free. Everybody has access to the first 8 hours, or at least until you are level 8. I've already sunk hundreds of hours into this game and plan on putting a lot more. If you're starting up or have been playing this, hit up Parker50 with a space in between those on Xbox and I'll play with you. Now lastly, with the Division 2's newest DLC release, Warlords of New York, there's an entire new yet familiar setting to explore and loot. An evil warlord, Aaron Keener, has returned and is planning something far bigger than you can imagine. I know what it is, so why not play through the game and find out for yourself?
Number 3.
So my pick's definitely geared more towards the sports fanatics of us in quarantine right now. Let me tell you, I've been playing NBA 2K20 on Xbox One. Big reason why it is free on Game Pass right now, which is awesome because any sports games I can get my hands on, I'm usually all about. But this one in particular, I seem to really be enjoying. I haven't played a ton of 2K games in the past. I've dabbled, but I actually have never owned one. So this is the first time I've ever actually owned one, and I've been playing through it. And let me tell you, I'm having a blast blast playing my career. I love creating my own player, getting drafted by my favorite team, the Raptors, and you know what? And moving on to become a franchise player as the seasons go on. That's just something I really enjoy about this game. But there's a game mode for everybody here. There's, online versus. You can play against CPU versus. My team allows you to be the GM, control, the inner workings of the team, which is a lot of fun, orchestrating trades, doing, free agent signings in the off season. There's a lot of things in this game, and that's for the most part the offline stuff, and there's a ton of online modes. In my career, you can go to my neighborhood, you can play rec games, you can play 3v3, 5v5 ranked games. There's so many different options here, and as a sports fan, especially with no sports being on, this is a real outlet for me, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm hopping up off the couch when I'm winning games, making big shots like I'm watching the game on TV. And you know what, I think any sports fan will really feel that and understand what I'm saying here. But you know what, this game's for everybody. It's a lot of fun to jump in and play with your friends. So you know what? Make sure you check out NBA 2K20 on Xbox One.
Number 4.
Elite Dangerous is my recommendation. If you've seen the show, you know Elite Dangerous was a very big standout hit to me. Released all the way back in 2014, this title was originally slated to have seasonal DLC. Frontier scrapped DLC in favor of free content updates shortly after Horizons. With over 44 billion stars to explore, there is no shortage of adventure when you can be a smuggler, a pirate, a combat pilot, a deep space trucker, an explorer, or a miner in PvP or PvE out in space. The latest update brings player-controlled fleet carriers, which makes this game even bigger and better to jump in now more than ever. So if you have all the time in the world, why not explore another world? Well, Drew, we're not arborists, but we are checking in the father tree in Arborea.
Let's check it out.
Well, Drew, we jumped into Arborea to check out this roguelike kind of game in early access. It's a punishing one, but what was your first impressions?
Absolutely that. It was punishing. You know what? I was impressed though overall. Like these type of games, the roguelike isn't really my style because you are punished over and over and over when you do fail.
Yeah.
But the start of the story and the introduction of the characters I thought were really cool. Your main character is what you thought was your main character very quickly turns into something else, and you're off to find where that character goes, and that's the whole plot twist and everything that kind of gets the game going. There isn't any voiceover dialogue, which I kind of was a little disappointed in, which was unfortunate. But when you start there with your fairy-esque character who kind of helps you and is like a companion and brings you through the game, it allows you then to go out, traverse the cool creatures that are in this underground world that you're trying to get to and help the father tree kind of rejuvenate itself. But then as you go out and you're looking for that one character, you're then faced with all these other creatures and the wasps and things like this and other nature kind of like feeling creatures. But yet they're so tough, man. Like, I don't know how many times I died in a matter of an hour. Like, it was just over. And it's relentless too when you get in there. You feel like you're making some headway, and all of a sudden it's one mistake and it's all over.
Yeah. Yeah, you might find a weapon you enjoy, but then you just take too much time at one route or something, and they come at you in waves. Whenever you're trying to clear these routes, because that's the main goal is to clean the father tree. Your main character, he's some kind of hero of the village. He puts a hat on and he becomes, not himself. We're sent after him, a product of the father tree, sent down below to clear the corruption off of the roots, and that gives you some progress in the game as well. So this roguelike, it's very important that there's something to work toward. Each of your characters spawn, when you die, you spawn a new character, and there's some mechanics around that. But for the most part, you're just trying to get deeper, clear more routes, and that will unlock further and further for better playthroughs. The combat, you touched on it, it's very difficult. You can be overwhelmed very easily. They give you 3 heals, and that's about it. I believe you get
Yeah.
3 more heals if you drop down to the next level, but of course the next level is more dangerous. There's more creatures, and there's a couple different varieties of creatures too. I want to touch on how the game looks first of all. I'm not
Yes.
an artist, but this has quite a specific kind of look to it, and the fact that it's very jungly. The creature you're made of is some kind of plant troll monster. Everything seems to be alive and kind of pulsing. It's really unique.
Absolutely is. I thought the cool design of the characters. They are, in fact, this troll-like creature, and your whole town or village is basically these creatures, these trolls. And the art style and direction I thought was so unique. It's something you don't see very often, if at all. So I was really impressed.
Yeah, I wanted to mention the really cool guy who levels up your weapons and stuff. He's just like this floating head that spawns when you have unlocked enough roots. He looks almost like a plant demon, and that art style is really cool to me. I like it. The fact that they blend this grotesque look with nature. It makes for a really cool world, and your village does expand as you unlock more roots, as you save them, I should say. You get more set pieces around your hub world that you return to between deaths. And what did you think of that little tribal dance?
I thought it was pretty cool. Again, something unique. I find this whole entire game really unique and different than what's out there right now. So if you want something that's a little more adventurous, I would definitely take a look at this game. Aboria is very cool. I was really impressed with what they've taken as far as the game mechanics. Even though it's really tough and not my actual play style, I've had a great time in it. And then the hub world, and then you get to this dance mechanic. It's kind of like a ritual before you kind of get going, and then you're tossed out into the world. It's really, really cool, and I love these troll creatures that they've created. Man, I've been having a good time playing this game. The art style is really kind of what sets it apart, because there's not much out there that is like this at all, where you get this mix of nature and this kind of more of a gothic kind of feel, in a sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely,
So I thought it was really, really cool.
Well, and there's also a really interesting thing where some of your creatures, as you spawn, you have a chance of getting different roles. If you put all of your points that you've collected in your playthrough, if you put those and offer them to the gods, they favor you, and you get a better spawn on the next life. And I thought that was really cool, because when you start off, your characters are really weak, and they're so weak, in fact, that some of them can't even see color. And it actually changes the way the village looks. Everything's not as vibrant as it was, and it's just that art style is definitely an important thing that they're holding on to in this game, and I really think that that's what sets it apart.
Absolutely. That world and the environment that you traverse through is just so special. And everything has life, because you are underground, and it is all about the father tree. And it has a tree. Obviously, there's a lot of life involved in that, and there's always movement and stuff. There's nothing there in the world that is static and boring to me at all.
No, it's a randomly generated dungeon as well. So even though it's kind of dark and the set pieces are similar, that's because you're seeing it randomly generate different dungeons based on those few pieces. Now, this is a early access game, so I expect to see a lot more variety in the enemies and the dungeons as time goes on. But what we've seen now is pretty impressive. What would you say, Drew? I think we've...
Yeah, because it's not actually an official release, we're not going to give it a final score, but what we are going to do is I'm going to give it a definite recommend. You need to check this game out. This is something special. Cool characters, and an amazing world that's outstanding. It's so vibrant and different than what's out there right now. This is something you need to check out.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Different weapon types, different melee attacks with them. Kind of has a Dark Souls feeling, but you can't say that nowadays. There's a lot of really impressive things to this game, and I'm definitely going to recommend it. We had an exciting first look at a unique roguelike. We definitely recommend checking this out.
All right, Scott, you ready? It's time for some Battle Royale in VR.
Oh yeah.
Dino shooter, good luck. You look like you need it.
All right, Scott, you and I put on our VR headsets and jumped into the world of Battle Royale. We're talking about virtual battlegrounds. This is coming to early access on Steam. What do you think of this one?
Well, I've played VR Battle Royale before, one other game, that was Standout. This one is kind of a standout on that one, so to speak. Much newer, much more polished. There's a lot of really cool kind of Battle Royale stuff that you would expect. My first impression was a good one. How was your time in this?
I'm enjoying it. I'm coming from the world of PUBG. So for me, I spend a lot of time on PUBG Mobile. Jumped into the world of PUBG on Xbox and PC. So I've played PUBG all over the place. And that is the biggest connection for me moving into virtual battlegrounds. To be able to play a PUBG-esque style game in the world of VR. And dude, this is pretty intense stuff. Like, I thought they did really well. It is, you can tell it's still in early access. I think they have a lot of work to do yet ahead of them, but they've got a good foundation in front of them. I think they're there with some good stepping stones and to be able to push forward. But when you get into the world, things aren't exactly polished per se, right? We're getting a little bit of jankiness. Our characters are kind of like, their limbs are all over the place. I see a lot of people on their tippy toes when they're in the lobby. You jump into the world, and sometimes when you jump out of the plane, you actually get teleported back into the plane and then back out. Like, it's kind of this weird disconnect there. But when you actually land, then some of the houses they seem like stand-ins almost. You know what I mean? Like, they're there, but they're not quite up to that polish where the company wants to bring them. I think they're getting there, but they have the building blocks already established for us, and they have us in there testing out the game.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I've been in there, dude, I've been there, and I've been playing a great time, like, having a great time. But when you're in there, if you get motion sickness easy, this one's going to hit you hard. Where I was only able to play probably about 2-3 matches at the most in one sitting. But the time I was in, I was having a great time.
Yeah, no, there's always a concern for that when you jump into one of these motion games and with the left stick moving you around. There's a nice running animation thing that you do to speed yourself up, but what that does is it kind of gives you that motion feeling, and it doesn't take too long for that to set in. There is some performance issues on some higher end machines, which they're actively sorting out right now. If you look in the elevator, there's actually a pretty good log of all the changes and the updates that are coming. As well as when you get into the lobby, you can vote on what you would like the developers to add next, whether it's vehicles or guns or just to firm up certain things. So
vehicles in VR right now? I don't think that's ready.
No, but there's a lot of different ideas on the board, and it's really cool that they're listening to the feedback. A lot of the top people on the leaderboards, I have a feeling, are the devs, and they're dominating the games, but everybody's in there and having such a good time. From the moment you start in that lobby, everybody's loading in, and there's kind of a hangar bay, a basketball arena, and like a paintball kind of room. Those assets were really cool, and it's kind of weird because when you get onto the map, it is a little bit more basic than you would expect. The gas station kind of stands out as being a good location, but some of the buildings are pretty empty and the gun spawns are pretty low. So there's definitely an early access thing happening here, but I have good confidence in them just based on the way they're listening to feedback and updating the community.
I think they have a good foundation going forward. I want to see more customization options when we're out there looting for guns and gear to build up. I don't feel like I have a gun that's a step above. I think if I find a good scope, then okay, then I got a good scope to go with my gun, but I don't have all the extra perks you see when you're out there in other battle royales, right? So I'd like to see more customizations, more items to be able to attach, and have it make a difference and make it matter when I'm out in the field. Well, now, I did find a sniper rifle when I was in a tower, and I had a decent scope. So when I was up in this tower, dude, I picked off a guy that was down the hill and he was far away. And the funniest part about this is when you jump into the world of VR, because you're standing up, I actually, for this particular moment, got down on one knee and kind of balanced myself. And because you're going through the scope and it's in VR, like, I've got my lip all curled and I'm sighted right down. I got my head tilted. I'm looking down the sights, It is one of the coolest aspects of this game, and when I picked off that guy, it was one of the best feelings I've ever had in VR. It was so cool.
I had a great game where I was making those shots from long range, and everything worked out so well. I think that's maybe the slant and why you're not finding superior guns. It keeps it more of like a grounded, everybody's on the same playing field, even if you are a dev. But that being said, it would be nice to see a little bit more variety in kind of the play styles, because I find a lot of pistols and a lot of SMGs, and I end up in a lot of tight corners, which is exhilarating if you're sneaking up on somebody and you just happen to give yourself away. It's some of the most exciting gameplay I've played in VR, and this is definitely a good starting spot, even if they do have some bugs.
Achoo!
Scott, you and I jumped into the big old map, and it felt big from the get-go, but when you land, it didn't feel all that big. And then when that circle started shrinking in, dude, you couldn't get out of that circle quick enough. You got stuck, and in a lot of other Battle Royale games, you're able to kind of make your way out of the circle. But here, you and I both died in the circle.
Yeah, I'm a little mixed on that, because one time I was with you and we almost got out of there, sprinting as fast as we could. But there was another time where it took a really long time for the drones to kill me, and I was able to get back into the circle and finish the game. So it's a mixed result. You see the drones flying around outside of the zone, and I'm not sure if they're targeting me or what's going on there. But the map kind of does this thing of corralling you into one spot eventually, as they always do, but there's only a couple locations on the map that I know there's going to be some good gun spawns, and it seems like too often I'm getting caught really, really far away from the circle, and when that happens, it's so hard with the locomotion to actually get yourself out of there. There's some towers that you can climb and take a zip line across, but it's just so hard to actually climb the tower in time. It's too much of a rush. The game only has, I think, 12 people in a full lobby, but it seems like it's kind of rushing it to a tighter circle.
Yeah, it's a little limiting, I found, right? I found I was in... They're quick games, but again, I guess that kind of plays to the fact that it is VR, so you're not stuck in the same match for so long and getting motion sickness, so they allow you to kind of get in, get around in, and if you are, like me, suffer from motion sickness relatively quickly and easily, then you're able at least to play a match before or whatever. But like my girlfriend jumped in, and she wasn't even done the match, and she's like, I am done. she had to bounce. It was that. But yeah, getting caught in that circle, I found there's just no way to kind of get out of the circle quick enough. I died almost instantly because I was so far away from making my way out. That other places or other battle royales have either vehicles or just a kind of a quick zip line in. But as you said, getting that zip line sometimes in virtual battlegrounds is a little more difficult than others. And
limiting, even if you do get to it. Sometimes it's not going the right place. And it doesn't help you much anyways. Fair.
All in all, Scott, I think you and I had a great time. What are you going to do here? Are you going to recommend this one or not recommend Virtual Battlegrounds?
If you have a VR headset, I definitely have to recommend Virtual Battlegrounds. This game is definitely setting the bar for the VR Battle Royale experience. And really, they just have a little bit of work to do to polish it up. But the devs are always active, so I have a good confidence in this one.
Nice. I'm having a great time. Even from a person who gets VR sickness easily, I still had a great time in this. I'm keeping my eye on it. I'm hoping for a little bit more polish in the graphical side of things. That would be nice. A little bit more environmental stuff in the world itself and more populated guns. There's a lot yet to do, but so far for an early access in the world of Battle Royale and the VR, I'm loving it and absolutely recommending it.
An impressive Battle Royale entry with great gunplay and a booming community. This raises the bar for future competition.
До свидания.
This week, I'm going to give my recommendations for Xbox One backwards compatibility. Now, Xbox One, they've been doing this for quite a few years now, and they've built a massive library of great games. They even give you the option to play your original Xbox game discs on your console. So starting off, I'm talking about a trilogy the Mass Effect series. If you have never played through them, or it's been a very long time since you've dabbed into the iconic story of Shepard, now is just as good as any. Although the combat might feel slightly outdated in the first game, the story itself will drive you forward, giving you some of the hardest decisions to make in a video game.
Greatest threat of our brief existence.
Commander Shepard, step forward.
CERN is a rogue agent on the run for his life.
You are authorized to use any means necessary to apprehend or eliminate him.
He has an army of Geth at his command. He won't stop until he's wiped humanity from the face of the galaxy.
I'll find some way to take him down. Wherever Saren goes, we'll follow.
Everyone on this ship's behind you, Commander.
Next up, I'm talking about the Xenomorphs and Predators. I grew up loving the Alien vs. Predator movies and all the predecessors before it, so when I saw that they brought the awesome menacing creatures to Xbox 360 back then, I had to try it. Playing through the campaign, you get to see the same story told through 3 perspectives: the alien, the marine, and the predator. Awesome storytelling along with a wicked multiplayer. Do yourself a favor and pick this one up.
Let us hope my predecessor's faith in it was justified. My name is Carl Bishop Whalen, and this is my facility. All you have to do is leave, and I give you my word you will not be pursued. At least, not by any of my personnel.
The last game I'm talking about is another gem, and now that Valve has finally released the next installment to Half-Life series, the Orange Box is a must-grab. Back in the very early 2000s, Half-Life 2 came out and absolutely blew everyone out of the water with top-of-the-line graphics, physics, and story arc, unlike anything we've ever seen. Playing through the silent protagonist Gordon Freeman is still wicked in this amazing universe Valve has created. And well, if you have never played or used a grav gun, do yourself a favor, use one. Alright, Drew, I think we sunk our ship on this one.
Yes. There you are, oblivious, drifting through the Atlantic. You know not what awaits you, gifted one.
Alright, Nate, you and I jumped into Dread Nautical, a turn-based game that takes place on a ship, and it didn't really hit home with us, and I think our ship kind of sank.
Yeah, man, this game, so I don't really know how to put a genre on it. It's kind of your strategy skirmish style game, turn-based, but at the same time they also have survivor elements. So, I don't know. Did they do a good job on any of these points? Not really, man. So let's get into the gameplay.
Yeah, before we get there, let's talk about the story, though. Because
Okay,
the
yeah,
overall
story, you're right.
story of the game is the fact that you were out on a cruise, and you had an option to pick between 4 characters, and they all had different, abilities and stuff like you kind of expect going into something like this. But then your cruise just goes south, and then it's taken over in this Groundhog Day-esque feel of you kind of launching in a basement / like your workshop, which then progresses you to scour the ship and find out why these thralls, which is the version of a zombie, and other creatures are on the ship. And then every time you make it through the level, you go to the front of the ship, sound the horn, and then your day starts all over again. That is basically the most simplistic version of the story, but everything about this game, honestly, Nate, is simplistic.
Yeah, man. So the combat, let's move into the combat.
Yep.
It's like we said, turn-based. And, I'm going to relate to Gears Tactics because I just reviewed this earlier this week.
Yep.
So it's, it's kind of the closest thing to it. But in that game, you have pretty big maps and lots of areas to move. In this game, you have, 3 to 4 action points. You can accumulate more if you level up your character.
Yep.
But you have that many action points, and that many points moves you that many spaces. So basically, each level each little section of the map is a rectangle or a square or whatever. So you're just kind of moving simplistically through these maps, attacking the creatures. There's no real depth in skills. No. There's not a lot of depth in weapons or whatever. It's just kind of like ranged or melee or a grenade style weapon.
Yeah, it's man, everything about the game is just it's so empty feeling. A lot of it is really boring. I found the characters were boring. I felt the combat was boring. I felt there's no strategy when placing your characters around the rectangular area / square area that you're in. So you go to the map, but every time you go to a different floor of the ship, it's essentially the same part of the ship, just in different order. So you have a casino over on this end of the ship versus that end of the ship, and everything's just the same thing. It's a rinse and repeat over and over again. And then when you're trying to get into something that's more strategic when placing your characters, because turn-based games are focused on you set up a character over here and then let's set up our other character over on this side so that we can maybe maneuver our way around to flank and set yourself up so that you achieve your goal of defeating the enemies here. Like coming off of Gears Tactics, man, if you didn't have your sniper placed in the right spot, that could lose or win the battle for you. Exactly. Where here, it was, dude, you couldn't move anybody away from each other. I didn't like the overall design. I didn't like the level design. I found everything about the game was simple or boring. It was just nothing was there to propel me to have an interest in my character, an interest in the character or survivors we're out there to get. So half the time when you're into a battle scenario and you're moving your characters around, everything will take a turn. But if you find a survivor that isn't joining your group yet, it will go to them as well as they move around. I'm like, you have nothing to do with what I am actually participating in, but yet I have to go watch you move for some particular reason, which I didn't understand at all. Like, there's just a lot of missteps coming off of all of these tactical games with these turn-based games that we're playing right now. To go to this one, man, it was hard to play. I got to be honest.
It was really tough, man. And they even tried to throw in some survivor elements.
Yeah.
Where you're finding other survivors as well, which there's some dialogue there, and I appreciate that there's voiceovers for the characters and they were done well.
Yep.
But you're just given 4 options, and it's not usually obvious which one you have to pick. And if you don't pick the right one, you lose reputation with that follower. So you end up maybe not even be able to get them on your team.
Yeah, it was just weird, man, because you go to find these survivors and you talk to them and like, hey, you should join my team. Yeah, but come back tomorrow and I'll see how I feel.
Yeah, I'll see you on deck 7.
Okay, I get that that's the portion that's trying to push the story forward, but it just felt so lame. I don't know. Everything's kind of sucking out right now here, and everything's really hard with all these thralls, these zombies that are kicking around. But yeah, come back tomorrow and see how I feel. Like it was just weird. I didn't like the storytelling. I didn't think it was fleshed out enough. There's just lack of personality in the game. Really hurt this title.
It was a good battle.
Well, Nate, I think Dread Nautical kind of sank our ship a little bit. What do you score in this one?
Yeah, unfortunately, this is probably one of the worst crews I've ever been on, and I'm gonna have to give it a 3, man. The poor character design, the poor graphics, just the overall kind of the gameplay itself, it all was lacking for me. 3.
Yeah, a lot of it was really boring, to be honest. The gameplay, the battle system, there was no strategicness needed here at all. Like the hub world, the rinse and repeat of a Groundhog Day scenario for a game like this was just too boring for me. I'm there with a 3 as well.
I do not understand it. It never failed before. Now my charges are dead? Probably. I don't even know that.
Dread Nautical is an okay survival tactical turn-based game that doesn't do anything exceptionally well. An interesting concept that just didn't roll with Drew or Nate.
Welcome to my realm, child. A realm of darkness. A realm of despair. A realm of dread.
That'll be it for this week's show. Now each and every week, you guys hit us up at InsideTheGame.ca to submit your highlighted clip. And this week, we've got Red Fox 82 lighting it up and some Apex. Thanks so much for watching this week's show, and we'll see you next week inside the game.
You're welcome. I love you too.
Round 3, beginning ring countdown.
We're inside the ring. Got the positional advantage.
Gotta hop up here. Select fire. Observing that spot over there. Making contact with enemy. Firing. Contact with contacts and target. I'm taking fire.
Heads up. Dropping the pain.
Reloading. Taking the airstrike.
Reloading.
I am taking fire, friends. The skies reveal danger upon us. The fight is not even. Multiple contact with hostile. Grappling.